Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Shit. We are playing some Dying Light 2 today. Yeah, my gaming time this week has basically been a lot of 7 Days to Die with some buddies. And then the rest has been on this. Which, yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. I guess I just have a kick for sort of post-apocalyptic survival scavenging games. Like many people, I suppose.
What's wrong?
I think a bee stung me. Damn it.
I've definitely spent a lot more time with this one so far than Dying Light 1.
I noticed how handsome you are and tried to pollinate you.
So, yeah, so far pretty good. Although, I didn't even spend that much time with Dying Light 1. And I remember having, like, a pistol, at the very least. I remember having some guns. That, apparently, they decided to radically change for the sequel. They really do not want you having ranged weapons early.
I didn't do nothing.
Because I actually looked it up. I was like, okay, how do you get a bow or something? Like, even a bow would be good. And apparently, you don't get it till, like, halfway through the story. You don't even get a bow. I think there's some lore in the game about how, like, every gun in the city has been, like, confiscated and was destroyed or something like... I don't know exactly. I don't know why you would ever do that. Well, I guess at the time... I don't pay attention to any lore. But I think this all started out as just, like, a pandemic, not, like, a zombie apocalypse. So I guess there were riots and stuff, and they got rid of all the guns. But that still doesn't explain why I can't just, like, make a bow, or, you know, some people are making bows. But regardless, so yeah, so, I mean, half the game then, you're using melee weapons. And the melee is decent. They've made some efforts to try and sort of blend the parkour aspect of the game with the combat. So you have parkour combat.
Get off me.
It doesn't really work. There's really only like one thing, and that's when you sort of stagger a guy, you can like leap over his body and then kick another dude. But yeah, mostly it's just like swinging, doing a lot of swinging with your weapon, and then timed blocks or timed dodges, and there you go. But the kicks, I mean, you do get a kick, and you can have the parkour leap kick thing. It is useful due to the verticality of a lot of the environments. There's a lot of high places to kick people off of. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer having a ranged weapon. I find it really curious that they restrict a bow that much, because having a bow does not invalidate melee, you know? Like, there's plenty of situations where you're gonna want melee despite having access to a bow and arrow. But it is what it is.
Hey,
so yeah.
No.
I don't, there's these open world games. So frickin' many of them.
Pilgrim.
We got Horizon Forbidden West coming out in like 6 days or something. 5 days. 5 days. And then Elden Ring coming out. That's another apparently kind of open world game. I don't know the specifics of that. So I'm not sweating like all the side quests here. I'm doing some, but even the ones I'm doing, I'm just like skipping all the dialogue. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'm enjoying it. Remember hearing that the city is completely out of ammo. Yeah, that could be it. That the guns are still present, but there's no ammo. But that's also a little odd because I feel like there should be people in like little outfits that are hand loading ammunition. And so again, I feel like it's kind of odd. It's like, why not just give us guns but make ammunition like really scarce? Because you have like an in-game reason for the scarcity of ammo. That it's all the official stuff is gone, and there's only just like a few small places hand loading it and trying to sell it, or that's kind of the big cool thing about apocalyptic games. Often is like it is the scarcity of ammo, and that you only have like a small amount of bullets.
Aha.
It's a creative decision. And like I said, I'm still enjoying the game despite the fact that I want guns, but it'll come and then I'll have all the guns that I want, I suppose. What are my thoughts on Peanut being yeeted into non-existence? Boy, oh boy. I'm not sure you could have phrased that in like a less Mangg way. Fortunately, I do spend just enough time on the internet to know the question that you're asking, but you're close there. You're close to being unintelligible to an old man like myself. So what do I think about the image of SCP-173 being removed from the site? I think very little about it, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of 173, other than, like, pedigree. I mean, yeah, the image was iconic, but they've removed quite a few iconic images by this point.
Inhibitor container detected.
I think probably a bigger aspect is that the original author didn't want the image to be replaced, which means that now it's just a blank article, or you have to use your imagination to figure what this this statue looks like.
Alright, I found.
Good evening, Aiden.
I mean, for me personally, as just like a reader, I always like when images are on there, unless they look like really shit. But generally, images enhance an article in my mind.
Inhibitor container detected.
So, I think, yeah, overall it's a bummer. But there's not a damn thing I can do about it. And, that's the end of that.
How dare they close the passage to the center? We are free people.
Ammunition's really not that hard to make. Yeah, exactly. I mean, in Cataclysm, my classic reference, you're not going to be making ammo quickly or anything, like when you're just like some random guy that just woke up in the apocalypse. But I think it's been like a decade or something at least since this whole went down, the apocalypse. And there's loads of people in here. There has to be people making ammo. But yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Might be a story quest. Yeah. 682 was another to go. Guess you kind of get people making a bit of a hoopla of it, but it was Creative Commons, but fair is fair. Otherwise, things be kind of crungo. All right, now you're throwing out terms I'm not familiar with. Anywho,
Hey,
Lost Ark came out this week. Yep, plenty of dialogue that I'm skipping here. This is sacrilegious to some people. Lost Ark came out this week. I played it for like an hour or so. And so basically I played the same thing that I played when I did the Russian client.
jump.
You've had like one drink, you swear Krungo's a real word? Well, I mean, nothing's a real word. But Krungo's not a word that I've ever heard of. That's all I meant. Also, I would say with this game, I'm a little disappointed by like the progression. It's not as satisfying as I would like it to be, but I guess I'm, you know. Honestly, that's probably my favorite aspect of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, is just like the stupid, like insanely large skill tree. And a lot of that skill tree is just like small numerical increases to different stats. But there is a lot of like special abilities in there, and you can really like branch out and spec in different ways, depending on if you like assassinations or just brawling or ranged. This one is just like, I mean, you saw it. You saw the skill tree. That's it. You got parkour skills and combat skills. And I feel like it probably is not that crazy to get everything. And then there's a side thing where you're picking up these inhibitors that are hidden around to level up your health and stamina. And then the rest is all just like your gear. And the gear is cool. There's a lot of different numbers, but the gear boils down to like one of 4 different specs. There's medic gear, brawler gear, tank gear, and ranger gear. And you can sort of guess what they all are good at. And so you're going to just generally pick a set, I guess, and just go for it. I don't know. It just, in 2022, a game with RPG elements, you expect them to go kind of ham. But yeah, you know, parkour is good. Krungo is like bonkers. Kids be coming up with all sorts of words nowadays, I guess. What was I talking about? Right, so Lost Ark. Shit. Lost Ark seems good so far. I haven't gotten to anything I haven't played before, and I could have spent a lot more time playing it, but I was like, if I really get into Lost Ark, I'm not going to spend any more time with Dying Light 2. So, one game at a time. So, I'm really focused right now on just getting... ideally beating the main story of Dying Light 2. and then I'll move on. But yeah, with so many games coming out, it's gonna be nuts.
Pretty empty as warehouses go. This floor doesn't look safe. Maybe there's another way.
Lost Ark, though, is doing very well for itself. I saw that it's like, for number of players on Steam, it hit like number 2 or 3 of all time. I mean, that's crazy. It is free to play, but, you know, all the other top games are all free to play as well, so that doesn't mean that much. For like kind of an odd, like, South Korean MMO to hit those kind of numbers, just wham, bam, thank you, man. It's pretty nuts.
Gotcha.
So I would, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to getting into it, but... Not yet. Not yet. Alright, so this week on this channel...
Is that you?
We had Castlevania, Order of Ecclesia. I think tonight I'm uploading the final part of Order of Ecclesia. Like I mentioned, it's only 3 videos, so I'm sorry that disappoints you. Then we have Lords of Shadow, and that's when we sort of have to get into a discussion about coming weeks. I think Lords of Shadow is going to be delayed. Because I'm right in the middle of the Iron Chef run for Cataclysm. That's going to still go on this week. But we've got... I guess... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The problem is I've only recorded like 1 video for Lords of Shadow. I don't know how long that LP is going to be. Maybe... Yeah, maybe not. Because I'm not doing an LP of Horizon. So that doesn't matter that much. I am doing an LP for Elden Ring. That's on the 24th.
I can't sleep because of the awful sounds the infected outside make.
Let me check my calendar here. My Joy of Painting flip calendar. 24th is a Thursday.
You didn't tell me.
Yesterday.
12 days from now, so a little less than 2 weeks.
You gotta stop bothering the...
No, there's no way I would finish Lords of Shadow in time. And the other LP that we're going to be starting soon of a brand new game is March 4th. Project Triangle Strategy for the Switch. We are going to be doing that. Pretty hyped for that one. The demo was great. Game looks great. Should be a good tactical time. So, Elden Ring and Project Triangle Strategy are next 2 big ones. So, I don't know. I can't... I'm going to have to sit down and just sort of think about how I want to release things. But Cataclysm will definitely continue. And beyond that, we'll see. We did House of Ashes Part 2 on Wednesday. I thought we were going to finish based on the other Dark Pictures games.
Where are you, Benny?
But this one turned out to be the longest of the 3. So... we're going to go into part 3 this Wednesday. That should finish it off nicely. Fuck you, battery. Amazon's had 2 successful MMO releases. Just waiting to see this one will keep players. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about Lost Ark is that it's not a brand new game. It's been out in South Korea for like 3 years. It's been out in Russia. Might have been out in some other country. So it's at least established that some people have been playing it for a while and still enjoy it. So I don't think it's gonna keep like 1.3 million concurrent players or whatever it had, but yeah. I don't know. Hopefully I got that right.
You are our only hope.
Get melodramatic, Benny the Pilgrim.
Whoop. Ugh. And yeah, so that's that. Yesterday on Two Brothers Play, we did Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Well, no game's perfect, right? Nice little bug. I finished Symphony of the Night. Lego did not. Which isn't completely unexpected. It's a bummer as always, but it's not completely unexpected. And so next Saturday, we're going to try out Open RCT 2, or Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. It apparently supports multiplayer, so we're going to do some multiplayer Roller Coaster Tycoon and see how that goes. It's only going to be like a one-off. Maybe 2, but you know, it's not going to be a long-running thing. Reviews are now mixed on Steam. Is there like some sort of general reason for that, or is it just people are like, yeah, this game's kind of shit? Like, is it being review bombed?
Ask Carl. This is his show.
Oh, now I feel how tired I am. Can't do it on cue.
So yeah, that's what's all going on with this channel. I actually had just another idea for a Cataclysm run today. Like the Beastmaster run, where you have to tame like every animal that's possibly tameable in the game. So many run ideas.
Live above the antique shop.
Over on the Exploring series, I released SCP-4700, Orkney Rising. I think the correct pronunciation is more like Orkney or something like that. It's like it's more Scottish, but I don't know. I didn't want to like. If something has an English kind of way of pronouncing it, like an American way of pronouncing it, it's usually what I go with. Because otherwise it can be like pretentious.
You can't.
Yeah, you say omelet. You don't say omelette. if you meet someone and they're like, oh, what do you want on your omelette? I mean, that's like, you're not gonna like that person.
I wonder what the hell is going on in the central room.
Oh shit, what am I doing?
Restricted access. Some say the renegades are about to attack.
Retrieving a flag quickly. High queue times and repetitive content. Ah, the hallmarks of an MMO. I think part of the reason I'm guessing that so many people are playing it and are interested in it is that it looks like a really fucking cool, flashy Diablo clone. Because that's what it looks like. What it is, though, is a cool, flashy, grindy South Korean MMO that sort of resembles Diablo. I haven't played that much. I just have read things, but from what I've read, like, it's not meant to be like sort of a loot kind of bonanza the way that Diablo or Path of Exile or Torchlight is or something. Like, it's meant to be more of a traditional MMO. And I feel like probably a lot of people are not going in with that mindset. So, yeah, I guess I can see mixed reviews.
Give me a break, man. It's not a big
The high queue times is definitely a part of the reason why I haven't played much this week, though. Because anytime we're like, oh, I should fire up Lost Ark, and then I think, no, those queue times are going to be stupid. Whereas Dying Light 2, I can just fire up and start playing immediately. So, yeah. Orkney Rising did very well for itself. A lot of people liked that. Good views. Good all around. As always, you have to wonder how much of view counts are just due to thumbnails. I strive every time to pick out a good thumbnail. But aside from some rare exceptions, the thumbnail I choose is an image that's in the video. Like, it's related to the video pretty closely. And so oftentimes, if I'm covering a weird SCP, it just doesn't have, like, good imagery associated with it. So then the thumbnail suffers. But, yeah, for 4,700, it was about a giant metal crab, and we had a thumbnail of a giant metal crab. This week's video was, I want to say, 3069.
Bring me a first aid kit.
Which was to force the hand of God. Very, very evocative title.
That was close.
And this is another underwater SCP. And we've had like a string of them recently.
Container detected.
Fucking boiling! Help me!
There's a string of underwater stuff. To the point of, I basically acknowledge it
I don't know how to
at the start of the video,
Will this do?
where I'm like, I run out of like nice intros for underwater related SCPs that don't just like spoil something about the SCP. So let's just do it. Let's just get into it. And then the artwork. I mean, a lot of the artwork is reused. from the other 5 underwater SCPs I've covered. Because there's just... They're all good, and there's just not... I'm not overflowing with an abundance of artwork that works with underwater SCPs. So... This doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem right at all. Now, I was here. Oh. Because I'm not... No, I'm an idiot. But no, there's nothing here. You don't care how good the game is, not waiting 3 hours in the queue just to play it. Yeah, I mean, that happened. Look at the latest Final Fantasy XIV expansion. That was a fucking disaster. But people still played it, and people still bought it, and people are still playing, you know? Like, it didn't affect it that much to have a really rough launch with queue times. So... but I agree, I'm not gonna sit there 3 hours in a queue. I mean, it's not like standing in a queue at, like, the DMV. Like, you know, you can just sit in the queue and let it run. The Final Fantasy XIV thing was really bad, though, because it would constantly kick you out of the queue. And you'd have to start the queue over. I mean, that was bad.
How dare they close the passage?
But anyways... Should be something I can do here. Hold on, isn't there like a big... There's gotta be a big boss monster I could fight. Where was that? Oh, no. No, this. That's it.
We are free people.
Pick this thing down. Right. So to force the hand of God. It's a good one. It's, you know, it's a good one. I don't really want to spoil anything about it if you're unfamiliar, but it's like 40 minutes, I think.
Inhibitor container detected.
And it has a little bit of a problem where... Shit and die. Give me this. It has a little bit of a problem where, like, it kind of... You sort of get, like, the twist, if you want to call it that. You get the whole premise of, like, what the SCP is fairly early on. And then there isn't, like, some big climactic reveal. Or some sort of big climactic event at the end, or any, like, there's no mic drop at the end, you know, none of that. It's just like, okay, this is it, and okay, this is it, yeah. Still good, I still like it, but I think possibly in the hands of a better author, the concept could have been expanded on, perhaps. I don't know. I'm sure people will like it. That's what I worked on last week. This coming week, when I last checked, which was a few days ago, hold on. rodent SCPs was winning. Yes, rodent SCPs. And the reason it's winning is because I specifically put in like the parentheses, you'll just have to trust me that this is more interesting than it sounds. Which is basically what I would say about every like compilation. Like that's basically what I mean when I put any sort of compilation on there, because compilation videos never win the polls, like, ever. But every time I put a compilation on there, what I mean is, like, it doesn't sound good. Like, food SCPs does not sound that interesting. But there's interesting ones out there. And so you will have to trust me that it is more interesting than it sounds. This time I was just like, rodent SCPs, I know that doesn't sound great, so I'm gonna put that text in there. And apparently now people thought like, oh, he must really mean it this time. There must be some crazy ass rodent stuff. And there is, so it's not bad. So yeah, rodent SCPs will be the following week. You'll get Nicky Knows eventually. Yeah, you know, I don't know how mob rules decides things. Like what convinces people that something is worth voting for or not. Because it has been proven multiple times that patrons do not necessarily know, or the popularity of an option on my Patreon does not always correlate to the popularity of the video once released. Because there have been things that have been neglected completely on Patreon that end up being really popular videos. So, I'm sure part of it, like I said, is just like, maybe the way I describe it is just not that intriguing. So yeah, I feel bad for people such as yourself that continually vote every week for an option and never ever see it get covered. Well, you know, you never ever see it win until like a year goes by. So I feel for you, but on my end, I don't really care. Because I'll cover everything eventually anyways. And the order does not really matter. If the order mattered to me, I wouldn't have polls. That seems pretty good. I wouldn't have polls. I would just decide myself. So, since the order does not matter, that's why we have polls. So then, yes, in essence, the polls are practically pointless. In the sense of, you know... The only way the polls actually would matter is if I somehow died. In which case, some of those poll options will never get made. But that's about it. Hey, Raymond. There's got to be something else we can do around here. You got all these... All these loot dark hollows, they all kind of suck. I don't want craft parts, I want inhibitors. Or maybe I do want craft parts, but I probably don't, because I can't craft a bow and arrow. So then, what do I care? That's a weird angle. So yeah, rodent SCPs. Should be good. Chrono Trigger, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't spend a single minute, I don't think, working on Chrono Trigger this week. It is on the back burner. And I'm somewhat okay with this. I don't know if I mentioned it on here, but my original goal... My original goal when I said, okay, you know, I'm going to do video game stuff this year. That's like a side project. My original goal was one video a month. One side video a month. So as long as and I did my video for January. So as long as I get the second episode out in this month, which isn't even half over yet, then I think I'm okay. Probably just play the main story to get to the city. Yeah, that's partly why I'm trying to focus on the main story more. It just tends to be my habit when playing open world games to do everything, so I'm really trying to fight it. God damn it. Anyways. So, yeah, I'm not... The only promise then for the Chrono Trigger video is that it will get done by the end of February. Even if that means, you know, the last day of the month I'm sitting there cramming. So be it. It'll get done. And that's that for the Exploring series. We didn't have an RPG session this week. Instead, we had 2 nights devoted to Magic the Gathering. Magic is in full swing over here. Both nights we did a cube draft with the newbie cube that I had put together myself, all on my own, which makes it a truly newbie cube. The first night we had 3 people, the second night we had 4, and yeah, both nights went really well. We all had a lot of fun. We can't wait to do some more, and it's great. It is great. I've spent very, very little time with the digital version, Arena. I basically have no interest in playing Arena, which is kind of surprising to me, because, you know, or if I was, like, really into a card game, I'd want to play the digital version a lot. But no, I don't have much interest in just, like, sitting down with a deck and just playing strangers. The cube draft is such a cool format of sitting down with a group of friends and just picking up random groupings of cards and just going around and drafting a bunch of them and then making decks and playing with them. Like, it's so cool. It's an experience I've never had before. And there's a lot of decision making in that, you know, like what cards to pick during the draft, what cards to put into your deck, the ratios of different cards to put in your deck, and then you do like 3 or 4 player free-for-alls with the deck, and you're deciding like what cards to play, who to attack, and blah blah blah. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's great. Really enjoy it. And really, it's like super easy to get into. It really didn't cost that much. To get all the cards for that newbie cube that I put together probably cost me like $80. And that $80, I mean, we can play that newbie cube dozens of times, and it'll still be an interesting experience. And then you can slowly filter in new cards. You can get a second cube going on, which I do have. Plenty of options. So much better than, like, alright, you know, Magic Night at my house, bring your decks. I spent $5 on my deck, so it's going to be better than yours. Go screw yourself. It's just like we're all playing with like a level playing field. How long does it usually take to draft? I would say like half an hour. The second night we did it with 4 people, we had one guy who had only played Magic like once, and he had never drafted before, so that took slightly longer because he had to keep asking questions about like, what does vigilance mean, and what does death touch mean, you know, stuff like that. And he took a bit longer to look through all the cards. But yeah, I would say with experienced players, 30 minutes or less. Drafting is definitely the quicker part compared to the actual playing with multiple people. But yeah, we were all pretty convinced that drafting was equally as fun as the playing. So that's pretty good. That means all around just like a good night. Some nice fire effects in this game. Turns take a while in 4-player FFA card games. Yes. Turns do take a while. And I don't... The 3-player FFA was good, especially because we did... we did Predator rules. Which I don't know if that's the official term for it, but that's just the term that I saw mentioned somewhere. But that means that as soon as the first player is out, the game is over. So whoever knocked out one person, they're the winner. Which is definitely a different dynamic compared to normal. Because normal is you play till last man standing. Last Man Standing takes a long time, and you're going to have people that are just sitting there shuffling their cards over and over. I think... No, 3-player, we did one Last Man Standing game, and that was the problem. It took too long, and the one guy just sat there shuffling his card. So that's not good. So then when we did 4-player, we did Predator rules. And we did 2 of those matches. The problem with Predator rules is that as soon as there's like a weak target, like one person doesn't have any creatures out or something, they just get dunked on, and it's very easy to just like obliterate them. That's actually how I lost the second game, was like I did a little bit of damage to the sort of weaker player, thinking that it would go around to my turn before he died. But it didn't, because one of the other guys had like a combo wombo that just destroyed him. And so he wouldn't have been able to do it if I had not injured him a little bit. Whereas under normal rules, that wouldn't make much of a difference, because he would still have to keep playing against the rest of us. So there's no right answer, there's no best format or anything like that. We would like to try like Two-Headed Giant, so where there's like 2 teams of 2, because that definitely makes things go a little quicker, because both teams, the team takes their turn simultaneously. We also maybe want to try attack left options. We haven't done that yet, where you can only attack the person on your left. There's all sorts of stuff. And if we ever get into like 5-player, then we'll look into playing Pentagram. You know, who knows. But yeah, so far, big hit. Can't wait to play more of it. I don't really know the status of the Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign we were doing. We had one session. And then this last week, he couldn't make it, so we didn't play. I don't know if he'll want to continue it or not. I mean, we'll see. But fortunately, we have Magic Mondays now as its own dedicated day. So anything else is just completely separate. I guess that'll about do us. It is a good looking game though. I had some family over this couple days ago for a party. Yesterday. No, a few days ago. And I was playing this. My sister came into my room and she's like, "Oh, is this a video game?" I'm like, "Yep." It's like, it looks so cool. It's like 3D. I'm like, yeah, games have been 3D for a while now. I think she meant like lifelike almost, because it was during like a cutscene where I was talking to a character. And yeah, it does look really good. So props for that. And the parkour is really fun. So I recommend Dying Light 2. Even if you didn't care too much for the first one, which I didn't. But alright, so last video for Order of Ecclesia tonight. More Cataclysm coming this week, so plenty of zombie post-apocalyptic survival. I'm going to make a decision about whether or not to start Lords of Shadow or not. I suppose we probably could start it. There's not really much reason not to. Because we have 12 days before Elden Ring. And the rest of House of Ashes on Wednesday.
My grandma can pick one faster than you. The fuck is that? You.
Oh man, that guy got fucked.
Surprise, asshole!
Oh shit. Nice. Yeah, House of Ashes on Wednesday. A Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 multiplayer on Two Brothers Play on Saturday. And over on the Exploring series, we have To Force the Hand of God 3069. More underwater goodness. I used a lot of images of that were like sort of reimagining or re-renders or stuff from the movie Abyss, The Abyss, James Cameron. And that's really the vibe that I get a lot from that SCP. So if you like The Abyss, which you should, you'll probably like that SCP. Good stuff. Alright. My name is Mangg. Thank you all for joining. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I will see you fine folks next week.